The fairy lights twinkled gently against the frost-covered windows as Lena placed the final ornament on the Christmas tree, a delicate glass heart engraved with their initials. Her belly curved softly beneath her red sweater, a reminder of the little life she and Marcus had created together. She smiled faintly, imagining the joy on his face when he'd walk through the door and see everything she'd prepared. The roast was still warm in the oven, the scent of rosemary and butter filling the air. The table was set with their best china, the candles flickering with a romantic glow. Every detail whispered of love, effort, and the dream of a perfect Christmas together. But as the hours passed, the warmth began to fade. The clock struck midnight, and the once cozy house grew painfully quiet. Lena's phone buzzed once, only to display a notification from a friend, not from him. She dialed Marcus again, her heart thudding, but it went straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's me, are you still coming?" she whispered, her voice trembling. No reply. Snowflakes drifted outside, covering the path he never took home. Tears blurred her vision as she sank onto the couch, surrounded by gifts and love meant for someone who had already chosen to spend Christmas somewhere else. At the mountain lodge, laughter echoed through the grand hall, drowning beneath the soft crackle of the fire. Marcus sat on a velvet couch beside Vanessa, her sequined dress shimmering under the golden lights. She looked like a painting of temptation, all curves, confidence, and cruelty. "To us," she purred, raising her glass of champagne. Marcus smirked, clinking his flute against hers, feeling the warmth of the alcohol numb his conscience. He slipped a small velvet box into her manicured hands. When Vanessa opened it, a gasp escaped her lips, a diamond bracelet, delicate and radiant. "It's beautiful," she said, tracing the stones. "Didn't your wife want something like this?" she added mockingly. Marcus chuckled, not even flinching. "She likes simple things. She wouldn't appreciate this." They laughed, their voices mingling with the soft Christmas music playing in the background. Outside, snow blanketed the mountains, pure, silent, and peaceful, a cruel contrast to the deceit inside. Marcus didn't check his phone. He didn't see the messages or missed calls from Lena. He didn't notice that his perfect act of secrecy had failed, that someone had tagged him in a photo on social media. In it, Vanessa's lips brushed his cheek as they posed by the tree, champagne glasses raised in celebration. Back home on her glowing screen, Lena stared at that very image, her heart breaking as the truth unfolded in pixels and pain. The soft glow of the Christmas tree filled the living room, its lights flickering like fading hope. Lena sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket that still smelled faintly of Marcus's cologne. The roast dinner on the table had gone cold hours ago, the wine untouched. She kept glancing at the door, whispering small reassurances to herself. Maybe he's stuck in traffic. Maybe his phone died. But the tagged photo on her phone screen said otherwise. Each time she looked at it, his arm around Vanessa, that smug smile, something inside her cracked a little more. Tears streamed down her face, silent and endless, as the carols played softly from the speakers. Every song that once brought warmth now stung like salt on a wound. She thought of their first Christmas together, when Marcus had kissed her forehead and said, "I'll always come home to you." Now, home was nothing more than a memory, and she was left holding the pieces of a love that had died quietly months ago. Her trembling hands reached for a suitcase. Slowly, methodically, she began packing. Her hospital records, bank papers, jewelry, and the ultrasound photo of their unborn child. She folded her last gift for Marcus, an envelope containing the truth he'd never face, divorce papers and notice of the house sale. As the clock struck midnight, Lena looked at the glowing tree one last time and whispered, "Merry Christmas, Marcus. Enjoy your gift." When dawn broke, the first rays of light fell across the living room, revealing the remains of the night before. Untouched dinner, cold wine, and a woman who no longer recognized her reflection. Lena stood by the window, her hands resting on her growing belly, feeling her baby's soft movements. It wasn't sadness anymore that filled her heart, it was clarity. The kind that comes after pain has burned everything unnecessary away. She showered, dressed with purpose, and drove to her lawyer's office. Every signature she placed on those divorce papers felt like reclaiming a piece of herself. Her lawyer looked at her with concern, but Lena only smiled faintly. "I'm ready to move on," she said, her voice steady though her eyes shimmered. The next stop was the real estate agent. "List the house," she instructed firmly. "I'm done pretending it's a home." The agent hesitated, sensing the finality in her tone, but Lena's resolve was unshakable. Back at the mansion, the once perfect house felt empty, just walls and memories. She walked into Marcus's study, straightened the papers on his desk, and placed the signed divorce documents on top. Beside them, she left the house sale file and their wedding photo, the one taken on a snowy day when everything still felt real. She looked at their smiling faces in the frame and whispered, "Goodbye, Lena. You've done enough waiting." Then, with a deep breath, she turned off the lights and walked out, free for the first time. Marcus walked through the front door, humming softly, his arms full of luxury shopping bags and a faint smell of expensive cologne lingering around him. He expected the usual, Lena waiting in the living room, perhaps a cold glare or teary silence. Instead, the house greeted him with a heavy, unnatural stillness. The scent of pine from the Christmas tree lingered, but the lights had dimmed, casting long shadows on the floor. "Lena," he called, his voice echoing through the emptiness. No answer. He wandered into the kitchen, the table still beautifully set, though untouched. A single plate sat waiting for him, the food long cold. That's when he noticed a small envelope propped against the candle holder. His name was written in Lena's delicate handwriting. He smirked, expecting an apology or plea for reconciliation. But as he unfolded the note, his grin faded. "Merry Christmas, Marcus. You finally got your freedom. So did I." For a moment, he stood frozen, the words echoing in his mind. Then he noticed the documents neatly stacked on his desk, official divorce papers, fully signed, and the house sale agreement beside them. The air seemed to grow colder. His chest tightened as realization struck. This wasn't a tantrum or a threat. It was final. The woman he had taken for granted had truly walked away. Outside, snow began to fall heavily, covering the path she had taken. Marcus sank into a chair, the note trembling in his hand, as the weight of his choices began to crush him. Marcus arrived at Vanessa's penthouse still wearing his wrinkled travel coat, eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. He banged on the door until she finally opened it, dressed in silk and sipping wine. "Vanessa, I need you," he said, voice trembling. She arched a perfectly shaped eyebrow, stepping aside reluctantly. The penthouse smelled of expensive perfume and detachment. He began rambling about Lena leaving, the divorce papers, the house being listed, but Vanessa only stared at him with mild irritation. When he reached for her hand, she pulled away, setting her glass down with a sharp clink. "Marcus," she said in a voice void of warmth, "I never signed up for broke or divorced. You were supposed to be my upgrade, not my downfall." Her words sliced deeper than he expected. "Vanessa, please, I can fix this," he began, but she laughed bitterly. "Fix what? Your image? Your fortune? Or your ego?" Within moments, he realized what Lena must have known all along. Vanessa didn't love him. She loved his status, his money, his name. And now, stripped of them, he was just another man she could discard. Hours later, as Marcus scrolled through social media in disbelief, his heart sank further. Vanessa had posted a glamorous selfie holding a champagne glass with a caption, "Some gifts aren't worth keeping." The comments buzzed with gossip, mocking his downfall. Marcus dropped the phone onto the marble floor, the screen cracking, a reflection of the life he had just shattered beyond repair. The countryside air felt different, clean, calm, and untouched by the chaos Lena had left behind. Her new cottage, nestled between rows of pine trees, smelled of fresh wood and lavender. The silence that once terrified her now became her greatest comfort. Each morning she woke to birdsong instead of shouting, and for the first time in months, Her heartbeat didn't carry the weight of fear. Her parents visited often, bringing homemade soup and soft smiles, reminding her she was never truly alone. Lena found purpose in the small things, rearranging her home, tending to the garden, and most of all making candles. What began as therapy, melting wax, blending scents, shaping them into something beautiful, turned into an unexpected business. She named her brand Light After Winter. Posting pictures online, she shared small captions about strength, hope, and starting over. Within weeks, her handmade candles went viral. Orders flooded in from across the country, and women wrote to her saying her words gave them courage to leave their own painful stories behind. At night, as she sat by the fire, her hand resting gently on her growing belly, Lena whispered, "We're doing it, baby. Just us." She no longer craved Marcus's approval, or his last name. She had built something from nothing, not out of revenge but out of survival. Her heart had been broken, but it now beat stronger than ever, glowing with the same warmth as the candles she poured, proof that even from ashes light can rise again. Marcus sat in his office, staring at the stock reports that glared red across the screen. His company, once the pride of the industry, was collapsing faster than he could save it. Former allies distanced themselves, board members demanded his resignation, and whispers of corruption filled the press. Every attempt to fix things only seemed to make them worse. His once confident smile had vanished, replaced by sleepless eyes and trembling hands. The empire he built on lies and arrogance was crumbling, piece by piece, just like the marriage he had destroyed. Late one night, while scrolling through old photos, he found a picture of Lena, laughing beside a Christmas tree, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. The sight pierced him like a blade. He remembered her warmth, her patience, the way she always believed in him even when he didn't deserve it. He picked up his phone and dialed her number, desperation rising with every unanswered ring. But the robotic voice cut through his heart. "The number you have dialed is no longer in service." Panicking, he drove through the snow to their old home, hoping to find her waiting, maybe angry but still there. Instead, he found strangers at the door and an unfamiliar family's laughter echoing from inside. Standing on the porch, Marcus felt the weight of his actions crash down upon him. The house he once filled with betrayal now stood as a symbol of his loss. For the first time, he truly understood what it felt like to be left behind, to face the silence he had forced upon her. Snowflakes drifted outside as Lena gently lifted her daughter, Hope, to place the final ornament on the small Christmas tree. The words "New Beginnings" shimmered under the golden lights, a reflection of everything Lena had built from heartbreak. Her home was modest but filled with warmth. Laughter echoed in every corner, the scent of cinnamon and pine wrapped around her like peace itself. She looked at her daughter's curious eyes and whispered, "We made it, sweetheart. Our first Christmas together." It wasn't the grand mansion she once lived in, but this, the simplicity, the love, was real, and that made it priceless. Across the city, Marcus sat in a cold, dimly lit apartment, the sound of distant carols seeping through the walls. He stared at an old photo, Lena smiling beside the Christmas tree they once decorated together. His fingers traced her face, regret burning deeper than any wound. His world, once filled with power and people, now stood empty. Vanessa was long gone, his wealth scattered, and his name forgotten. For the first time, he understood what he had lost, not just a wife, but the heart that made everything beautiful. Meanwhile, Lena, unaware of his sorrow, rocked her baby to sleep by the soft glow of the tree. As the clock struck midnight, she smiled through quiet tears, knowing she had survived the pain and found something far greater: peace, love, and the courage to begin again. Marcus stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it, his hands trembling. The familiar handwriting on the page made his heart ache. "You once said Christmas is about love and forgiveness. I forgive you not for you but for me. Because forgiveness is my freedom, not yours." The words pierced through him like ice, each sentence a mirror reflecting the man he had become. He sank into his chair, the paper slipping from his fingers as tears he hadn't shed in years finally fell. He whispered her name, but the echo that answered was silence, cold, final, and deserved. He realized then that her silence had never been weakness. It was her victory, her peace, her way of saying goodbye without needing to look back. And that goodbye, he knew, would haunt him far longer than her presence ever could. Snowflakes drift softly outside the window as Lena sips hot cocoa, her daughter's laughter filling the cozy room. The once broken woman is now a symbol of strength, her handmade candle brand shining worldwide. Reporters call her the woman who walked away from wealth and built her own empire, but she doesn't see herself as extraordinary, just free. Watching her little girl place the final ornament on the tree, she smiles with quiet pride. Sometimes, she whispers, brushing a tear away, losing someone is the greatest gift the universe can give. Outside, the world sparkles in silver and gold, yet inside, warmth glows brighter. The warmth of peace earned, love rebuilt, and dreams reborn. The camera pans out slowly, capturing the glow of her home, not defined by what she lost, but by everything she found within herself.